Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video in the 26.0.4. My God, so many numbers. Patch notes are out. The changes are all confirmed. We know exactly what the big class nerf is to Deathlight. Discover is changing forever in the class. And I think it is a good thing, although the class is going to be getting significantly worse, in my opinion, in particular Blood Deathlight, which makes me sad. And we go through all the changes have been confirmed, all the buffs, all the nerfs. We'll go through all of it. There's a bunch of Battlegrounds changes too, but this is only a data only patch. So it's going to be like a big hotfix patch. Not going to have to download anything significant. So you'll be able to just load into the game. This should go live around 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So like less than an hour after this video goes live. And we'll be streaming it today. Later today, I'll be on going through the change. We'll have their day one patch review, but let's get into the updates. But first, just a friendly reminder, we're very close. We're closing in on 69,420 subs. We're gonna do a big giveaway when we hit that milestone. So hit that sub button, make douchebag Zeddy go broke. Only if you feel like I've earned your sub, of course. So let's take a look at the update, and the big one, the first one, the system update to Death Knight. All Death Knight cards with any 3 rune requirements, so Triple Frost, the Blood Frost Unholy, so like the rainbow stuff, anything like that will be removed from all Discover pools and random generation effects. So basically, you can't get Vampiric Bloods, you can't get Soul Stealers, you can't get Frostworm's Furies and freeze the board over and over and over, unless, you know, you play the 4-mana copy Frost Spells, right? That'll work, but you can't discover anymore. So Vampiric Blood, I kept saying, like, as a standalone card, isn't that like egregious? You look at the numbers, it's a strong card and all that, but when you discover them all the time off School Teacher, off you know, your Viziers, all that stuff, that's when it gets ridiculous. Same with Frostworm's Fury, freezing the board over and over, and I guess Grave Strength and Harvest Green, I think it's called, for Unholy, not quite as egregious, but you will not be able to discover those anymore. So I feel like that's a very significant change for Deathlight. Should make the class less frustrating to face, but makes it less powerful. Although you'll get like a spell like the Scourge, that's 2 Unholies, you'll get that more often. You'll get Patchworks more often, because the options are more limited, right? So the 2 rune stuff, the 1 rune stuff will appear more often. It's not diluted by triple rune. So there is some net positive to it, but overall, yeah, I think it's a healthier change. I will say though, like Rainbow DK already sucked, and now it's going to be so much worse because they can't get like those cards, right? Like it's pretty rough. The dev comment here is saying that Deathlight is a very strong class as should be of right now, and this change weakens the class across the board. We've also received a lot of feedback. One of the more frustrating parts of playing against Deathlight is when they're able to generate additional copies of their powerful triple rune cards, particularly when the card is one the deck didn't have access in deck building. So I like the change. I don't think you wanted to lock it off just to a specific rune, because then you just consistently get like their really good rune cards. So we'll see how it plays out, but I feel like Blood DK is will take the biggest hit. They rely on the Discover the most, particular getting more Vampiric Bloods and all of that. Frost, they don't get Frostworm's Furies often. Unholy, I feel like, isn't super affected by it as much, but you can't get more Marrowgars, I guess, right? So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, Deathlight definitely getting a hit, and we demand a dust refund on every Discover card, right? No, we're not going to get that, but that's too bad. And we have the update, so the nerfs and the buffs, we'll go through it. Won't go into super detail about a bunch of them, but we'll talk about the ones that need it. Rowdy Fan is losing an attack on its buff, +3 attack rather than +4. So yes, a combination with Lady Astheno, and it's also like it's really, really good in like Frost DK, just putting it on an egg, anything like that. It's like a Cold Blood attached to a 1/5. Pretty ridiculous. I knew this card was going to be really good, and yeah, it gets hit. I think it might still see play, but I mean, the Lady Astheno decks might just go back to running Abusive Sergeant. And there's a Sinful Brand version that's popping up. I will say I'm very concerned about the lack of nerfs. I think Demon Hunter, Paladin, in particular, are going to be outliers. Looking at these buffs, I don't know if it's enough. Outside of Mage has a chance because the mass mana cheat, right? I'm probably gonna do a whole video on it of like the big problem right now is still mass mana cheat, but overall, yeah, the nerfs aren't really addressing a lot of that. Overseer, Frigid Aura, this one I didn't see coming. They just took 2 attack off of this, so it's now a 5/6. So weird, right? Like they didn't change the mana and they just didn't change the health. It's just like it has less attack. So yeah, like this was one of the strongest cards of the deck, and now you can't get the Frostworm's Furies as reliable. But yeah, Frigid Aura, it's a 3/6. Does that change a lot? A little bit, but it's a very minor adjustment. You didn't care too much about this attack, minions attack, but I guess it puts less lethality on the board, but definitely a weird one. By the way, core set legendary, so no dust on this one, sadly. The only dust on standard cards is Rowdy Fan, and the Twig will now refresh your mana crystals, making it so you can't scam. As like you can't just play Twig Sphere and automatically get to 10 mana. You can still do busted stuff. You like Bioproject Overgrowth, get to that 10 mana, and then you play Twig and then you refresh it. You get all that mana back, but overall it's way less scammy and well overdue, and thank you to the team for addressing those wild issues. And now the buffs. What are the buffs? Well, Rockmaster Voon, now 3 mana rather than 4, so it's cheaper, easier to copy stuff. Will that make things insane for Warrior? It's definitely a lot better. You know, you can get value for a lot cheaper, can come down earlier. It's a good change. I think the card will see some play. Verse Riff, 1 mana, should have been from day one. We got 1 mana Claw. We're back, Warrior. I still don't think the Rift package is really gonna make it, but it's at least, you know, on the power level of basic cards. But yes, Verse Riff is 1 mana. The effects all stay the same. You still have to Finale. I hope they add animations at some point that actually let you rock out. With like Bridge Riff going to 5 mana, the stats stay the same. It's already the best Riff card, but again, the numbers were terrible. Like we did a video on these. They have less than like 30% win rate, like or around 30%, right? You knock a mana off, I don't see it, you know, moving the needle a heck of a lot, especially when other stuff's not really getting nerfed too heavily. It's good, but I just don't see it making a huge difference. Wow, they Power Slider, they're like, you know what, screw Zeddy. We're not making it a 1/3, it's a 2/3. So they gave it +1/+1 right out the gate. This is probably the biggest of the buffs, because this card in like the Menagerie Warrior was already pretty good. And now this is really good. Like you just have to have 1 other Menagerie card played, 1 other tribal minion played, and it's a 3/4 rush on curve. That's really sick. So this buff, pretty darn big. Shield block is going to 2 mana, so Odd Warrior, poor Odd Warrior can't run this. It's too bad, but good for the rest. I'm really happy about this one. I don't think Control Warrior has literally a chance of working. They don't have a win condition really outside of Black Rock and Roll, which is just a scam card. They have no infinite value, no good finisher. I don't see it happening, but this could go into other decks. Like you don't have to just play Control Warrior. But yeah, I don't think Control Warrior is making a big comeback. Frightened Flunky, instead of a 2/2, is a 2/3. You know, you still get a bunch of discover options for neutral minions. It might see a bit of play. It's a good change. It's a lot, you know, playing a 2 mana 2/2 in today's game, it's brutal, and that's pretty good. Thori Balor, no limit anymore. So if you're playing fire spells, you can just keep bringing back Thori Balor. Again, really good change. Don't know if it moves the needle on this type of archetype, but significant, right? Rather than just bringing it back twice, you can bring it back for as many fire spells as you run, but you got to run that whole fire spell package, which is not, you know, it's okay, but we'll see. Maybe that Enrage fire deck can really work now. We'll have to wait and see. And they talk about their explanations. Again, I'll link this below if you want to look at that in more detail. But yeah, they're going to continue monitoring the class after adjustments to see if further changes are needed down the line. I think they're aware that Warrior's probably not going to be that great after this. It's pretty rough. The biggest problem with Warrior is just they're lacking the cards. They're lacking the win conditions. They're lacking what every other class seems to have, which is like mass mana cheat, infinite value, insane finishers. They don't have that. They just don't. You can buff these cards as much as you want, except for like outright breaking the game, like making Thori Balor 1 mana and stuff like that. It's still going to be pretty rough for Warrior. I don't expect it to be like a really strong class, but I do think Enrage and Menagerie definitely will be competitive going forward. Infantize, the Maxitude will now reduce the spell. You discover a spell, you will reduce its cost by 1 now. So it's not going to 1 mana, it stays at 2, but you get mana cheat on top of it. So it's infinite value, infinite mana cheat. Somewhere inside my soul is dying, but no, is this good enough? I don't know. It'll go well with the Naga turns, right? It's that 2 mana refresh for Naga where like you just need this 1 spell to refresh your Naga turns. That's pretty good, and you get a mana cheat on top of it, which those can go to 2 mana. I can see this definitely slotting into that Naga deck, but overall it's still pretty expensive, and Mage does not struggle to generate cards in the least, but the mana cheat does make this seem a lot more appealing, so look out for that. Audio Splitter is now a 2 mana 3/2, so that's how they buffed it. They didn't make it a battle cry. If you want to copy your spell, it's just a 2 mana 3/2 mech. I guess that's fine. It's whatever. Just cheaper, more flexible. Spite Lash is fully reverted. I think they're going to regret this one. I'm going to have fun playing it, but I think they're going to regret it. I think this is just mass mana cheat, blowout turns, the reason it got nerfed in the first place. I can see that happening again, and they revert it, but we'll see what happens. Mage is struggling, but look out. I think people are really going to hate this one unless they're playing it. Artificer, it's a 1/3. I don't see this making any difference, but yeah, it's a 1/3 now. Ironically, Mage also probably gains armor better than Warrior 2 now, so just throwing that out there. Stranglethorn Heart gets 2 mana discounted off of it now. It's down to 8. That is a big time buff. You don't see the 2 mana change too often. Are we gonna have a Pocket Galaxy here? Probably not. Doesn't win the game on the spot, but a lot better. 10 mana. I mean, it's just really slow. I don't know if it'll help enough because I feel like they really need that big taunt, like that Mountain Bear missing really hurts, but definitely a nice change. Haldurin of Brightwing now gives all spells in your hand and deck, so it's not like the spells in your hand are just dead with this. So this could be really insane just on curve now. Every spell you haven't played, so if it's in deck and hand, it's gonna get hit. This might give Arcane Hunter a shot. It's been irrelevant in its entire run. Maybe this does it. So you hit that 4 mana spell in your hand, the next turn you curve into a 4 mana 8/8. Like, that's pretty good. The Rusher thing, that can be actually pretty disgusting. The Jazz base goes to a 3/2. I mean, it's got a bit more attack, doesn't feel as bad as playing. I think that's what we expected. Altered Chord, instead of getting a tort treatment, it's just going to deal it extra damage. So it's like the Death Strike, whatever the 4 mana lifesteal spell for Deathlight. It's like that, except for 2 mana if you're overloaded. So that's pretty damn strong. Flow Rider, instead of a 2 mana 3/2, goes to a 1 mana 2/1. So a lot easier to weave into your overload turns. It's like one of the cheapest discover a spell effects from your deck, but we saw that before in Priest, where if you had healed, you could discover a spell from your deck. So it's not unprecedented. I don't know if it moves the needle for Overload Shaman, all these changes, but the bigger one, honestly, Lightning Storm overloading only 1 is huge. Really nice. Doesn't feel as punishing to play early, so Overload Shaman gets a lot. We'll see how it plays out, but all the changes are quite strong in my opinion. Crescendo goes to 2 mana as predicted. Yeah, it felt like the weakest of the cards, and it being cheaper helps out. Craze Conductor, okay, at least they took some stats off. Goes to 4 mana instead of a 4/5. It's a 3/4, but still, that's like a 4 mana 6/7. It's Boulder Fist. Nice stats for the cost at the bare minimum, taking that first fatigue damage. So look out. This is a huge buff for Fatigue Warlock. They could fight for board a lot earlier, curves into 5 mana stuff and all that. Look out for that. That looks pretty nuts to me. Siphon Soul, just going in line with like all the other Assassinate cards, going to 4 mana. Not bad. Again, I wish Twisting Nether was going to 7. And then we have, of course, rogue changes with Record Scratcher also getting the 3 attack treatment like the Shaman weapon. We got MC Blingtron. It's no longer the same stats as old Blingtron, but it's not cheaper. It's just a 5/5. I don't know if that really affects this card. Like the stats, like I don't feel like matter like at all on this card, or very little. It gains 2 attack and a health. That's relevant, but A weird one. A lot of people thought it was going to 4. I saw people thinking it was going to go to 3 mana, like, because of course it's rogue, right? But no, it just goes to 5/5. Does it change a lot for these cards? Not really. I think you're still just playing Miracle Rogue. None of that got nerfed. So yeah, all that. Holy Nova goes to 3 mana, so we get some cheap AoE for Priest, and it no longer goes face again. It can't go face again. It didn't take very long. Like, no, it was too much damage for Priest. We got rid of it. So yes, it's back to 3. It's 2/3 mana, but back to the effect that it only hits enemy minions. The only Priest card. I really wish they would have buffed more for Priest. And Kiri goes to 3 mana. I still don't think you play this card. It's still a 3 mana 2/2. You get a Solar Eclipse, a Lunar Eclipse. I'd be very surprised if it sees play at 3, but there you go. And Death Blossom Whomper is now a 6/5 for 5 mana instead of a 6/7/6. Still don't see that really seeing play, just kind of minor changes. And then there's a bunch of Battleground changes. You want to check them out. You can go down below. Oh my God, I am so freaking happy. I didn't even realize the Duels updates. Elwyn Boar removed. Thank you. I'm actually gonna play Duels again. This card drove me crazy in Duels. That makes me so happy. And they basically nerfed some hero powers. They nerfed this after getting rid of the whole like hero power thing in Druid, but oh my God, I'm so happy they made those changes. Some other nerfs, some other changes like that. If you want to take a look, again, it'll be linked below. But the big one, at least for me, that really frustrated me for Duels was Elwyn Boar. And treasure pool updates. They have also temporarily removed Ancient Reflections. That was a big scam one. Mask of Mimicry, Bag of Holding, Royal Gift, and Location have been moved to tier 2. So you can't get like the Deathlight location on like game number 2. And Eerie Stone looks like it's been changed as well. So a lot of changes. After you spell it kills an enemy, summon a... Jeez, they changed a lot of stuff. You have to kill an enemy minion with a spell after you cast a spell that kills an enemy. Very interesting. So yeah, lots of changes you can take a look at. We're not going to go too in-depth about Duels, but yeah, huge update after they got basically nothing. So that's really good. And yeah, a lot of changes. I don't expect the meta to change a ton. Paladin's still going to dominate lower ranks. The higher ranked players are going to abuse Demon Hunter and Rogue really heavily. I just think Deathlight took a huge hit. We'll see how it plays out. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.